Now, you might want to think long and hard before you purchase something on special at the supermarket. Consumer New Zealand says they've received hundreds of examples of dodgy supermarket specials from shoppers. They include 78 specials which, on closer inspection, were not an opportunity to save, 54 instances of customers being charged more than the shelf price, ouch, and 18 dodgy multi-buys where the products would have been cheaper if bought individually. Now, for more on this, we are joined by Consumer New Zealand CEO John Duffy. John, these are remarkable findings. What do you make of this?
Well, it is really disappointing to see. Your previous guests talked about the amount of work that's gone on by the government and others in the supermarket sector. And one of the core tenets of all of that work was that New Zealanders aren't able to rely on price representations by supermarkets. And I guess this quick snapshot of what's going on out there really underlines the fact that actually nothing's changed and we're still seeing non-genuine price representations by the supermarkets.
Is it across the board, John, or is it targeted items that they're doing this to?
No, it's across the board. So it's quite a random thing based on the complaints that we've received, and we shouldn't pick out one or the other of the supermarkets. This is across the board for all of the supermarket brands in New Zealand.
We've spoken to Foodstuffs. They argue that this is not the case, that they've had about 7 complaints and they are working to fix this. Do you agree with this? What's your response?
Well, we've provided them with 7 examples to represent the broader body of complaints that we've received. So, yes, Foodstuffs has come back to us as well and said that they're not seeing the volume of complaints from their customers. Therefore, they don't, I'm paraphrasing here, but therefore they don't see that there's an issue here. We would argue that, well, the volume of complaints we've received negates that. And also, let's remember, it is a real pain to have to go back to the supermarket once you've got home, checked your bill, go and argue that actually the peaches were charged out at 5 cents a kilo more expensive than what the shelf price said, get a refund, head back home. There's a real barrier here to consumers actually complaining. The other thing that I would mention is, Foodstuffs in particular hoovers up our data through their New World brands, through their loyalty schemes. So they know when they receive one complaint from a consumer saying that, hey, the till price is incorrect on baked beans or whatever the product might be, they know through the data that they're collecting through their tills who else has purchased those products at those incorrect prices. We don't see them taking action to contact those people whose details they have to issue refunds to them, and we think they should be doing that.
Foodstuffs is arguing that you haven't been transparent and forthcoming with information on this. Do you agree with that? Can you argue that?
Well, I'm not sure what more Foodstuffs would want. We've provided them with samples showing that these pricing errors, mistakes, this misleading conduct is occurring in their supermarkets, and we've asked them what they're doing to rectify the issue. I would turn that back on Foodstuffs and say that it's really not fair to New Zealanders to be minimising the scale of this problem when you are on notice that this is a thing. And this is not a new issue. In fact, Pak'nSave was prosecuted just a few years ago for exactly this kind of conduct. So Foodstuffs management is well aware that this is a problem, yet their systems remain the same, and the mistakes, if you want to call them mistakes, you could probably call them something else, keep occurring.
What about Woolworths, the competition? What have you found there?
So Woolworths had the majority of the complaints. So around 2/3 of the complainants contacting us were from Woolworths supermarkets. So that's the Countdown brand. But we've had quite a different approach. We've had a really constructive dialogue with the Woolworths CEO and his staff. And Woolworths has actually set out a plan for rectifying some of this. Now, some might argue that's a little bit too little, too late, and they have been on notice, just like Foodstuffs, that this is an issue. But it is great to see a constructive approach to recognising that this is an issue and that it needs to be fixed.
Very quickly, John, if a consumer does have an issue, if they do come across the special, that's not quite a special, what's your advice?
We would love to hear about it, so they can email us at playfair@consumer.org.nz. They should also let the supermarket know and demand a refund because they're entitled to that. Woolworths actually has a refund policy which will let you keep the product and they'll give you your money back, so that's great. We would also, as I said before, like to see the supermarkets using the massive amount of data that they have on everybody to contact other people affected by that pricing error.
Consumer New Zealand CEO John Duffy, thank you so much for your time this morning. Now, Foodstuffs has provided us with the following statement. If there's a mistake, we work quickly to put it right, and we will always refund customers where they have been incorrectly charged. We've already made significant progress in simplifying our pricing and promotions across our brands, making them easier to understand.